that it was just the way I'm wired as a person. I'm so independent, like not even just as an artist. Like I was telling Wado yesterday, I've never even let a barber touch my hair. I've always cut my own hair.
Word.
Yeah. It's just like to that extent, I'm that much of an independent person. Like you're looking at my hair and
yeah.
This is WLAK. You in the field with
TRACKSTARZ.
Not the Monstars. The TRACKSTARZ. The TRACKSTARZ.
Yeah, back in the field with the TRACKSTARZ. Ryan Righteous, Seantana, DJ Jeremiah. This episode is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com. Get a free audio book on us. Make sure you go. Are you still reading yours, man?
Yeah, still reading it.
Okay.
Still reading it.
Keep on pushing, man.
You keep giving me other assignments. You got me wanting to read another book and listening to podcasts. So yeah,
the one I'm almost done with is really, really good. It's called 0 to 1. The guy who wrote this book was the one who started PayPal, so he's like giving like real dirt on how this whole business thing works. So if you're an artist or you're a producer or whatever, you need to work on getting your business right. So this is a great book. It's more, I appreciate it because he's kind of straight to the point. When I read a lot of books, they're kind of like, whatever, roundabout ways. He's like, look, this is what it is. Don't do this, don't do this. It's like real tips. So audibletrial.com/TRACKSTARZ. Get a free book on us. This is also brought to you by Jerry Skrills, K Dre, and Jay the producer. You saw them do the artist takeover this week, throughout the week. So if you're interested in doing the artist takeover in the future, let us know.
All right, that's what's up. And sponsored by wrathandgraceclothing.com. Make sure you go to wrathandgraceclothing.com and check out the new designs in time for all your shopping needs. Also, go to www.trackstars.com for everything TRACKSTARZ. Follow us on TRACKSTARZ, Twitter @TRACKSTARZ, Instagram @TRACKSTARZ. Make sure you are going to iTunes and downloading the podcast each and every Monday. Subscribe to that. Go to the YouTube channel, The Field TRACKSTARZ, and make sure that you subscribe there as well. And then also got to do a quick plug, man. We are almost 2 weeks away from the premiere of the Independent Artist Spotlight series on CHHTV.com. So excited about that. Shout out to everybody who's done the first season with me. Be looking for the second season. We have a new feature that we're going to be giving. It was an upgrade. Now it's going to be a standard. So if you do the Independent Artist Spotlight video, your audio is going to get ripped and you'll be included in the FM podcast distribution to Georgia, Mississippi, Ohio, Idaho, and another one soon to come. And I'll just tell you the initials of that state is going to be T, and another one is going to be N. So keep listening for the city. Keep listening for the city. Yeah.
What that could be.
Yeah, keep listening for the. Well, I didn't announce the city though. The city's going to shut it down. So I'll announce the city in the upcoming months.
All right. Yeah. Again, wrathandgrace.com. We wearing some of the shirts today. The Every Knee Shall Bow shirt.
Yeah, and I got on the Die Daily joint. It's a design by wrathandgraceclothing.com, and it's got the Die Daily logo and everything, and the Wrath and Grace logo. And then Jeremiah's got one on. You can't see it behind the
Lyrical
screen.
Theology. Spit them hot bars, son. They got a lot of dope people. They got a lot of dope people around these headphones, and I'm big on the headphones thing. So yeah, man.
All right, man. All right, so today we have TJ Pompeo in the building, fresh off his album release. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. Thanks for coming through and hanging out with us, man.
It's good to be here. It's always good.
How's it feel having the album out?
It's good, man. It's encouraging to finally get something out to the people. Like I've dropped a bunch of free stuff, but this is the first retail project that I've ever released. So it's awesome, encouraging. Just the response yesterday was really good. So.
Now you must love to travel. Every time I see your Instagram, you're in another country hanging out with people.
I do love to travel, man. God has been gracious to just present me opportunities to just see the world, and he's connected me with a lot of people in a lot of different countries. So, and then he's blessed me with the finances to make it all work and make it all happen. So there's been certain instances where I'll go to a country and I'll pay out of pocket to get there, but then there's someone there who I have a connection with. They'll put me up, or they'll let me do a concert there or something like that. So it expands. Every time I go somewhere new, I meet some other people, and it just works in that sort sort of circle. It just keeps expanding. So it's really cool. I'm actually going in a week and a half. I'm doing a quick trip to London and South Africa.
That's awesome.
Oh,
we appreciate you. So you've been sending us your music for a long time, man.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate them.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
We connected right after Flavor Fest, and it was like as soon as I got back, I got an email. TJ Pompeo. I was like, oh, that's what's up.
Yeah,
that's what's up. Because
really
usually when we tell
sending these
people
things
send us their music, you know, they wait and we hear from them like a month two later. So thank you for getting right on that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I'm all about networking.
Absolutely.
So you sent us the announcement recently about leaving Mixed Bag. You said it was all, you know, everything's all good.
Right.
But tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you know, the cliche statement that I have to say is there's certain things I'm not allowed to say because it's legal purposes.
We're gonna try and get you to anyway.
But more or less, like the whole thing is that, you know, there was transitions going on behind the scenes for both of us. You know, Truth and Mixed Bag, they were going through a transition of sorts within business terms, infrastructure, stuff like that. And I'm going through a transition myself. You know, just creatively, artistically, I'm trying to explore different things. And it was just this thing where it was just kind of a tension that was kind of start to create it, and we just realized like it's probably best if we go separate ways. And Truth was kind of in a position where I knew and I could tell that there was more of a it was like he could tell that if I stayed around, he was going to be feeling like he was holding me hostage, and he didn't want to do that because he knew that the transition was going to take time. He knew it wasn't going to be a quick 2-week transition. It was going to be months, or it could have been a year even. And, you know, there wasn't really no definite box of like, this is exactly how long this transition is going to take. So.
But how much do you credit just being around the label situation for helping you get to where you are? Because it still benefited you.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely did benefit. And traveling with Truth was super beneficial, just getting to meet all the people that he met on the road, getting to kind of learn the industry ropes. There was tons of times on the road with him, like we just ran into certain situations that were difficult to navigate through, but because of his wisdom and his experience in the industry, he was able to navigate through it, and I just kind of took notes along the way. And, you know, there's tons of circumstances and examples I could give, but we would be here all day. But but just I learned a lot, you know, obviously just about the industry and how to navigate through certain things, and creatively, you know, he always challenged me a lot. Like I mix and master as well, and I got to mix and master his whole album.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And so that was a really Heartbeat. So that was just a real thanks, man, and that was a really good experience for me because it challenged me a lot as an engineer. That's what I studied in school, and that just really challenged me a lot because he's super particular. He's a perfectionist. He's a drummer. He's a musician. So he was probably one of the most pain in the butt artists I've ever had to work with in terms of like his specific things that he wanted. But it was so worth it because I really grew a lot. I learned a lot in that whole process. So that was really cool.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So what how did you get into the Christian hip hop world? Like who was your first introduction into the space?
It's actually a group called Level 316. I don't know if you remember them. Now they're Six-Way Street.
Yeah.
They were with Cross Movement for a period of time, and I met them through the Impact Movement's Music Summer Mission that I did back in Indianapolis. It was like a whole summer there. We went on tour, and that was back in 2011. And that's how I met them. We did a song together that summer because I brought my studio with me that whole summer, and we did a song together. They ended up bringing me out to a Legacy conference in Chicago. We did the song, and that's kind of just how I started getting plugged into the whole scene and meeting people and networking. And then from there, I just had a knack for networking. I loved it. I loved meeting people and staying connected and just shooting people random texts like, "Hey, bro, hope you're doing good. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well, whatever." And just kind of went from there. You know, that's how I met Truth and at the Misfit tour, and then from there stayed in contact with him and ended up doing a song with him. And then he heard my other stuff and decided he wanted to sign me.
How does that go? Because everybody has the dream of, you know, kind of meeting the big industry guy.
Absolutely.
How do you start the conversation with somebody like that?
Yeah, it's one of those things when I met him backstage. So like the whole Misfit tour, they had a little talent showcase before each show, and then whoever won the talent showcase in each city got to hang out with the artist backstage. And so when they came to Virginia Beach, that was the closest one to me at that time, and I won the showcase in Virginia Beach, and I got to hang out with everybody, Molly and Truth and Ambassador, Sean Simmons, all those guys. And Truth was like my biggest one that I wanted to meet backstage, and so I met him, talked to him for a quick second, you know, just a quick casual conversation. Like he was like, "Oh, that's cool, man, congratulations on winning." I'm like, "Thanks." And then about 5 minutes later, I remember seeing him in the backstage room, and he was about to go on stage, and he was praying with a friend back there, and I interrupted by accident to get a picture, and I felt so bad. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." As I walked in, I didn't realize they were praying. I'm like, "Can I get a picture with you, bro?" He's like, "Yeah, man, it's fine." So we took a picture real quick, and as I'm walking out, he's like, "Hey man, can we keep praying?" He was talking with his friend, and I heard them in my ears, and I turned around. I'm like, can I pray with y'all? And he's like, yeah, man, that'd be awesome. So I prayed over him, and before he went on stage, and I just think that kind of lingered with him.
Yeah.
It just stuck with him, like this random white guy TJ that he met in Virginia Beach. And so that when I hit him up for a feature like 2 months later on Roots, the song that's on Imperfect, the EP, that was that song that I hit him up about. He was open to it because I was expecting like no, I'm too busy, you can't do the feature, I got too much on my plate. I was expecting that because he's the truth and he's busy, so that's what I was expecting. But he gave me a yes, and I was like, whoa. So I got to go to Philly and record with him in the studio, record that verse with him, and from there it just kind of took off. From there, he wanted to hear more of my stuff in the studio in Philly, and I think that's where it started to kind of click in his brain, like TJ kind of fits the mixed bag picture, and so I want to bring him on board, and that's when he verbally extended me the offer.
That is rare.
Yeah,
that is very rare
story.
For an artist to be able to hit up somebody they want to do a feature with and then turn around and get offered a deal. That's crazy. Yeah. So let me ask you, what is your biggest takeaway from the label situation that you would advise to independent artists?
For me personally, I realized that I'm actually not fit for a label. And that was a really big thing for me. Again, it's like no bad blood, no like tensions or anything like that. It was just the way I'm wired as a person. I'm so independent, like not even just as an artist. Like I was telling Wado yesterday, I've never even let a barber touch my hair. I've always cut my own hair.
Word.
Yeah. It's just like to that extent, I'm that much of an independent person. Like you're looking at my hair, and
that's good.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like to that extent, it's like I realize I have a very hard time, and it's something I'm letting continually God work on me with. But I have a very hard time delegating responsibilities to people. Like even my boy here, my manager, he's here with me, Lee. Like that's my dude, been ride or die since middle school. I just am now starting to like be able to like delegate responsibilities to him and like let him do stuff for me.
You let him cut your hair?
No, I don't.
Will you cut his? Do you cut his?
No, I don't cut his. He goes to a barber.
Oh, there you go. I mean, either one of you all could just
or whatever. Yeah, he has a friend who cuts hair. But anyway,
save
it's just
some money, save some time.
The point is, I'm trying to make like for advice to independent artists. Like if you're wired like me as a person, period, let alone an artist, I would highly advise just thinking through whether or not, if a label does approach you, obviously, discuss the legal and business matters, but even think about whether it's just a wise decision, period, for you to be on a label, because there's going to be a lot of instances where, unless it's a label that's been around for a minute, they got a solid infrastructure, they have a very solid track record of like just handling things very well, there's going to be a lot of frustration going on with you as a person if you're wired, where it's just like, if I'm a type A personality, I need structure, I need schedule, I need itineraries, I need things to flow smoothly, and you're not getting that from your label, who you're like, that's who you're trusting, that's you're delegating all that stuff to, then it's just going to be a really constant struggle for you as a person, as an artist, as a in your career, period. So that's my biggest advice. Just think through whether or not that's a wise decision for you.
But what's the learning curve? Because I mean, you have some advantages being able to mix and master your own stuff and kind of like understand, look and feel like you have your own opinions about that. For somebody who doesn't know that, how long would it take to learn how to do all this stuff by yourself?
It'll take a while. I think, realistically, I think it could take a year or two. I mean, I've been mixing and mastering and producing all that stuff. I've been doing those like side hustles and whatnot for 8 years now, and I feel like I'm just now at the point where it's like I don't want to say that we use the word mastered it, but it's like I'm in a point where I'm really comfortable with it. I know that I bring a valuable asset to the table on those other fields, but it took a while to get there. Like it just took a lot of confidence, a lot of kind of trial and error of like, does this sound good to your ears? It sounds good to my ears. Does it sound good to your ears? And getting criticism from people and being open to negative feedback and those sorts of things. And so it just took a lot of learning, and of course it's what I studied, so that helped as well.
I don't want to. You don't have to answer that. But how are you doing this? Are you doing this full time? Mm-hmm. Is this part time? Okay, how are you doing that? Are you subsidizing that with the mixing and mastering work, or is it just all coming from royalties? Are you killing it like that?
Me and Lee laugh about it. No, not royalties. Me and my manager, we laugh about it because I have like 8 different avenues of income streams, and it goes from being an artist to being a producer to making beats for people to doing features to mixing and mastering for artists. I actually produce music for cheer teams, like cheer and dance teams who do competitive cheerleading competitions. If any of you guys have ever been to one of those, like their 2.5 minute routines that they dance to at their competitions, we make the music for them, and we get paid really good money to do that, voiceover work, stuff like that for the routines. We are the Cougars, like we do that sort of stuff. And so it's just like it's just right. It's just different niche fields that like I never ever would have expected to get into. It's just like God kind of dropped them in my lap and said, "Hey, here's a way to make money and do what you love to do and do music and honor me in the process." I'm like, dope. That's awesome. I'm gonna take it and run with it. And whichever one pops off the most, that's what I'm gonna put my attention to.
Is it ever scary though?
Yeah. I mean, as of recent, I'll be honest with you, as of recent, it's been really awesome. It's been very flourishing. I've had a lot of financial comfortability, which has been awesome. It's been one of the first times in my life where I've had this much money. It's not even like it's a lot of money, but it's a lot for me. But prior to that, I had my instances where my bank account was as low as like $5. I'm like, dang, what am I going to do next week? But then something pops into my lap, and I'm like, okay, God, I know you got me. There was even a moment where God dropped like a random $3,500 check into my lap from a supporter, and it was at that moment where I'm like, right.
Can you give us our names?
I was like, okay, God, obviously you got me. I think finance is like, I can say it and hopefully I can actually live by this, but I don't really worry much about money anymore. I just kind of live life and I just trust God with it. Really, honestly, like that's how I live my life.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people need that encouragement.
Right.
A lot of people need that encouragement. We find that a lot of independent artists are breaking the bank to try to do this.
Right.
And they got families to support, they got children, they got bills and everything. And so for you to be able to say that, there is a structure to it, like I'm not just going on a show, getting paid and sleeping in a hotel and then getting up and doing another show, there's an avenue for it, so that's good.
Yeah, now, do you have a company structure around yourself, or is it? So would you recommend that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would establish an LLC to kind of use it, and then under that LLC, you can have all sorts of different umbrella companies if you want to do production or mixing and mastering. They can all be their own separate entities, but they all like solidified underneath that one umbrella LLC.
When you first made your LLC, what was the first thing you did? Did you make a website? Did you get business cards?
No, business cards probably was the first thing. It was more or less just coming up with a cool name for the LLC, which it's Audio Therapy Productions. And so that's what it is.
Very cool. Very cool.
Was underneath that name.
we want to make sure, because there's a lot of artists that listen, and the goal is to be able to do this full time.
Right.
The whole mixing of ministry and business is hard for a lot of people to pull off. So anytime we can get wisdom on that, I think it helps our audience.
How much did school help you in this process?
A lot, man. It really helped me a lot. Obviously, I'm a firm believer that everyone has there's a certain ear that you have to develop as a mixing engineer, but there are also certain practical tools that you have to be taught, or you can teach them to yourself through YouTube tutorials or whatever frequently asked question sections on websites and stuff like that. But having an actual teacher walk you through the interface of Pro Tools and show you all the different steps and the tools and how to do certain things, like I want to do this, I want to make this particular kind of reverb, I want to do a reverse reverb, and then they teach you how to do that. It's like dope. Now I can take that with every single artist who wants that, and I'm not limited now. It's in my now. It's in my.
I did this with Apple Jackson. I want to get, since you're a mixing guy.
Okay.
Logic or Pro Tools?
Pro Tools. All day.
Favorite reverb?
In Pro Tools, right now it's Air Reverb. Okay. I'm also kind of starting to explore the CLA Vocals plugin, which is really dope. It's what a lot of artists are using now.
Yeah. Apple or PC?
Apple.
Cool. Let's see. What's another one? Fruity Loops or Reason?
Reason.
Okay. All right. We're starting to see people pick sides on that one.
Why not Fruity Loop?
I just never rocked with Fruity Loops. I never really messed with it. I tried it a few times, but it just wasn't up my alley. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite compressor?
I actually just rock with the standard stock compressor from from Pro Tools. It works well for me. It's worked well for me. Okay. I've never really branched out too much on that one.
Okay. What's
TuneCore or City Baby?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I use DistroKid, which is a new one on the scene.
Gets you out fast.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's good. Anybody else got one they want to ask?
I have one question before we go. What is something that you would tell somebody that's about to jump in this CHH game? Like, what's a pitfall, what's a great thing, and what's a bad thing about CHH, the genre, real quick?
Great thing is that there is always room for improvement. There's always room to network. I think more than the mainstream field, people are more open to networking and connecting, which is encouraging, because honestly, in the mainstream world, I've done my share of trying to network and stuff like that, and I'm still working on it. But it's just one of those things where there's like a front and this little pride that kind of goes with a lot of artists in that, and it's like they don't want to even talk to you unless you can benefit them. And you have your share of that in the CHH world, but in general, people are pretty open to networking and connecting, which opens a lot of doors. I didn't realize the extent of you have to know people to make stuff happen sometimes. You know, like obviously God has his hand in it, but I'm a firm believer that you have to put in a certain amount of work and just leave the rest to God and let him do his thing. But there's also a certain element of it. It's like, well, you know, like even this morning, Derek Miner posted my my EP on iTunes, or I mean on Instagram and Twitter, and it's like if he wouldn't have done that, then his fan base wouldn't have probably known about my EP. And it's just like, okay, so because I knew him and because he's a friend and because, you know, we're boys, he wants to post for me. But if I wouldn't have known him, that wouldn't have happened. So that's a huge thing that's really cool and available for most of the time in CHH. Negatives about CHH. I think it's obviously it's a hot topic right now within our genre, but it's just we box ourselves in too much, you know, just because of the debate of am I Christian who raps, I'm a Christian rapper. It's just like we don't even allow ourselves to talk about certain things or be a certain creative way, because it's like we might step on some toes when we totally forget that Jesus stepped on toes and he offended people. He didn't always walk by the typical like I just don't want to offend anybody or make anybody mad. Like no, he said some stuff that really tick some people off. So it's like I want to do the same thing. I want to be risky with my music and be creative with it and artistic. I don't want to do the typical Veggie Tales stuff where it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that I don't want to do that with my music.
Who do you believe that? No.
Oh man, that's
like
good, man.
that's my biggest advice, man. Like negatives unfortunately don't let the CHH community in a whole box you in where it's like because so-and-so is doing a certain thing, you have to do that same exact thing. Don't try to sound like Andy Mineo. Don't try to sound like Lecrae. Don't try to whoever you want to try to mimic or whoever you like be your own artist. Do your thing and let God do the rest, and whoever rocks with you. Like you don't have to try to be something you're not. And that's something I've learned myself over the past few months, and it's been cool.
That's good, man. All right, let's get back into it. You in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same...